Just think of it as the rough draft of the podcast world. This is the Newbie Writers Podcast with your hosts, Damien Boak and Catherine Bramkamp.
Hey, it's episode 160, and this show is a bit all over the place, to be honest. We did have a guest. We had a guest booked, and, you know, technology, sometimes it lets us down a fair bit, actually. Yes. So she'll be on when we can, I think.
She'll be on the 14th.
Yes. Oh, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. So that I wanted to ask that question because I don't like to assume. So you, Australia does celebrate Valentine's Day or acknowledges it or makes you buy stuff on the 14th of February?
Be the last bit, yes.
Thought so. I have a contract with my husband to just give each other cards because after, it's like you have Christmas, then Valentine's Day, then it's our anniversary in March, it's my birthday in April, and it's like, okay, at some point we have to stop this. So Valentine's is our stoppage.
Yeah, and there's only so many flowers you can give.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and if you're clever, you give Sharon flowers just because, and
Correct.
Then she won't be expecting something spectacular on Valentine's Day when everything has ratcheted up to exorbitant prices because there's nothing better for price fixing than desperate men.
Yeah, and I think that Valentine's Day is more for just those young couples that are madly in love. It's the people that have been married for a while that go, oh my God, really?
Again?
Yes. This happens every year.
Yes. Or as my husband says, I told you I loved you last year. When that changes, I'll let you know.
I said I do. That should be enough.
Right. Right.
It's funny because, we have these conversations at work, and I said to my coworker, what are you going to do for Valentine's Day? And he said, I don't know, not talk to her. That'd be the safest option. Like, it just, that's how it goes. When you're married, you don't do those things.
No. Oh, it's kind of cute, but kind of scary. Okay.
I know.
So yeah, we had a technical glitch. This is the technical glitch show. So we thought we'd move forward and talk about social media and technology for writers because it's probably one of the last things writers like to deal with.
Well, I mean, we cover it a fair bit on this show, so we won't bore people too much with it. But more specifically, you're doing a course on social media, which is hilarious. That, and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with it all. This is what I want to get to the crux of.
All right.
Why and how?
Why am I overwhelmed?
Yes.
And I should send you the syllabus. So there is I live close by to a local state university, and they were offering this semester a class in social media. Semester long, so I'm going to be doing this until the end of May. And you get when I do a project, I can get a certificate and just be better at this. Well, just the proliferation of options, it's almost like you have to have an application that helps you manage the applications that help you manage the various social media outlets. And between that and what all of the lectures that are covering things like your reputation on social media, how do you buy ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. How do you manage analytics? So I'm going to do a 4-week course within this on analytics so that I can go in and look at how things are going, either how pathetic I am or how great somebody else is doing. And I think it'll be very interesting, but it's quite the overwhelm. And all I could think of was, man, this is hard if you are a right brain writer, if this is what you do as a creative. One of my challenges is finding what's creative about social media so that I can be a little more enthusiastic about it and tackle it in a different way, because it's very left brain to me right now.
Right. Well, what sort of in the syllabus is there? Is it post pictures of cats today and report to us? And
they did use an example. There was a Facebook page where the organization is a hotel, and what they do is that they've decided that their cat, Fluffy, angry cat, I don't have it up to give you exact numbers or exact names, and the cat is who talks on the Facebook page. It's like, hi, this is Fluffy the kitty again, and it's a warm day, and I'm laying out in the sun, and here are things to do around town kind of thing. So they've created a persona that they're using to post on Facebook. So yes, I have looked at cat pictures already.
And did you pass that portion of the course going, congratulations, Catherine, you posted up 3 cat pictures that had 12 likes?
I haven't gotten to that point yet. It was just the intro class to overwhelm me on the first class.
So is this a class that you actually go to? So you're sitting there with other people that have no idea? Wow.
Yes. And it's got a various range. I'm sitting with, there's one other writer in the class. I've got a gentleman who's formerly his first job was as psychologist, and now he's retired and he's looking at the next thing. And so his take on social media was, oh my God, I can't believe people are completely enveloped in this essentially virtual reality and not paying attention to reality. And the young woman who's to my right, who is a student still, so she's 20, 21-ish, she's looking at him like, what do you mean? And I'm thinking, yes, and I wrote a whole dystopic novel about how people are immersed in virtual reality and why that might be a problem. So it's there's a big age, and there's an age range and a range of experience, and that too makes it interesting because people come up with some different kinds of questions.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is there anyone that is of age? Is there anyone that is young enough that I'm just picturing this class with all these sort of middle-aged people, and then 1 or 2 who are like 18 or 19 with their feet up, just surfing on their phones going, yeah, I already got 12 likes.
Right. Actually, we do. We have 2 undergrad students in the class, and I'm happy about that because I'm interested in what their viewpoint is, because they're much easier with the technology than, as you said, the middle-aged people, who are like, what are we doing? And we know there isn't anybody in the class is not familiar with social media by any means, but we just want to take it to that next level, and that next level is a challenge.
Here's the thing. So when generations passed, when they were sort of our age, I think of my mother, who went into a phone store and said, have you got a phone with buttons? And the kid behind the thing went, we haven't had them for ages, but here I can give you this one that gives you, Facebook access and Twitter apps and this sort of stuff. And she just looked at him and said, buttons. Yeah. I think though, but when, like in my mum's case, when she was 19 and 20, what did they have that they would then look at their parents and go, oh my God, this is so easy. Can't believe my mum can't get this. Or are we so far down that line now of instant, like things change so quickly? I don't know.
I think we're farther down the line. I think that the generations, so you have my children and my mother, and then I'm in the middle. So you've got, and my mother does, all right, so my mother's going to turn 80 in July. And because she has always made friends with her grandchildren, her 2 grandsons, my youngest has always been very good about setting my mother up with the latest technology so that his goal is to make it non-frustrating for her, which is a skill when you think about that. But, so that she doesn't feel overwhelmed, and he just lines it up. And so she got an iPad before she left on a trip. And so my husband and I have been uploading it for her again to make it seamless so that she can just pick up the iPad and there's everything that she needs.
Well, think about when you were sort of 19 and 20, what were you saying to your mum? Oh man, seriously, don't you know how to use the color TV or something?
I'm trying, not really, because the technology had not changed in 20 years between the time she was in college and the time I was in college. It was very incremental compared to somebody who's gone to college in the 90s and someone who's in college now. Very different.
See, it's interesting. So it makes you wonder then what's going to happen in another, say, 10 to 12 years' time when my boy's then 18. Am I going to be sitting here going, well, I remember having an iPad. God, I wish I could just get an iPad now. And then sort of holding a cube in
Or
their
you
hand.
have, my son has just asked for my husband's stereo tuner because it's very quote old fashioned because it's all like balanced knobs and it's this beautiful piece of equipment, and he wants it for the whole nostalgia feel. So you might have Julian saying, "Oh, I so need your old iPad. Oh my gosh, because it's such an artifact."
Yeah, well, isn't that the other thing? Isn't that a bit sort of interesting for someone like me when I was sort of Julian's age at 5 and 6, playing the really, well, now deemed crappy games on big floppy disk drives, and they're sort of really cool now. People are seeking them out, going, check out this 8-bit game that people used to play in the 80s. Like, yeah, we thought that was cool.
Yeah, and it's gone around because it takes about 20 years for nostalgia to kick through. So I love seeing, I love watching videos where the 80s is the nostalgia moment. I saw one that was, what was it? It was Meghan Trainor's All About the Bass. And she's playing around in a little faux, girl's bedroom with all the toys. And I'm looking at that with my husband. I said, damn, that looks familiar.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I just think
now I feel bad.
I can see why you start to sort of get that concept of feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything because things are changing so quickly.
Yeah, I think that just to go back to why writers have a challenging time with social media is that it is like walking up to a very fast flowing stream or river. Now it's a river. And you're like, and you just sort of, you look at that and you think, okay, I'm going to put my toe in, but I'll wait for the right time. And it just isn't, it just keeps going and going and going. And there's so much of it that a lot of people resist it completely. And that's to their detriment, of course.
Well, for the first time, like I'm not really that out there when it comes to this sort of stuff, the Google and the Twitter, but I have, enough followers. But for the first time, I sort of took a step back this week when I got smashed with, I've jumped up 100 followers in about 3 or 4 days. Now,
tell us about that.
Some people are going, oh, that's nothing. I get that a day. Yeah, fine. But I don't. And there were a lot of them, well, mainly the followers were from like Israel and like Muslim countries and that sort of thing. And it was just strange. People are probably thinking, oh, where's he going with this? I'm not going with this anywhere in that direction. But I found it odd that all of a sudden people from that demographic were just like flooding social media. And I noticed a lot of our writers groups were inundated with people from those areas following everyone and trying to comment. I saw an article yesterday saying that I think the Prime Minister's Office of Israel has injected money into the universities there to get their students onto social media and engage with the rest of the world. And their angle is to try and, dilute that stigma, thanks to all the, ISIS and war and that sort of thing that's going on.
Right.
On one hand, I thought, awesome. What a good idea. If, he's embracing that thing going, social media and the internet is a big monster.
Right.
Be a part of it rather than sort of shut it down. Here's where it was a bit strange. If you're going to encourage people to be on social media, try and pick people that aren't creepy. Right.
That should be number one. I think people just assume that, but it's well worth saying again, do not follow or let creepy people follow you.
Yeah, and this is where I think it's backfired a little bit. So I'll talk to anyone. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. But when I get bombarded with just odd, strange comments like, hello, you're not talking to me.
Like,
I'm sorry, I'm at work today. Or or I was asleep for 8 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I tell our guests too. They're like, Damien hasn't emailed me back. And I look at the time, it's like, that's because Damien's sleeping.
Yeah, that's true. See, that's a bit of a problem with them being in Australia, the time difference. And so I find myself waking up every morning to the 20 or 30 shout outs or notifications or +1s on Google Plus. I'm like, oh, cool, what's going on? And it's a lot of those new followers going, where are you? oh, I'm here. Like it
Interesting.
can
And that's not necessarily, the goal.
No, I like to engage with people. If they're going to leave me a message, comment on what I've actually posted up on too. So if I posted up something about writing, add to the conversation and I will happily talk to you and keep it going. But don't just leave a one-word answer like okay.
Welcome to my world when I talk to my children.
But it does. It just seems a bit, you sort of feel a bit strange going, how come I'm being singled out here? They're not making sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you start to see then 3 different people might leave a comment, but all the comments are very similar. And you start to think, is this the same person with 3 different accounts? Or are these 3 different people? I don't know.
Yeah.
And they don't fill out any profile stuff, which is
well, that does not make it. It doesn't encourage the transparency at all, does it?
No. I think if you're going to be on social media, you have to be a little bit honest. Otherwise, you do get lumped into that creepy guy with a van category. Yeah,
I agree, and I think that some of the things that I've talked to writers when we talk about social media is that they'll one of their comments is, do I don't want to put my real photo up, or can I use another name, or could I use my the name that I use to write my books? Can I go as, my book, my Twitter handle to be my book handle? And all of that is fine, but it makes your life so much more difficult. And then you have to remember, it's almost like lying, because you have to remember what you said, how you said it, what is your persona, when it would just be as easy to just say, here I am, here's my name, here's my Twitter handle, because there is no privacy. You're not doing yourself any favors, and you're not quote protecting yourself. In fact, I just read an article today about how all of the all of our credit cards that are supposed to be quote made anonymous, not really.
Not
Apparently not really. So it only takes someone like, fortunately, my son, who at least he's on my side, but it only takes an analyst 3 data points to figure out who you are.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if that's the case, when you go on social media, just go on as yourself, because it's over. It's over before you got to the computer. Well, so just be and be genuine, and that ironically is what people are looking for when they engage with you.
Well, I don't have my profile picture up. I have occasionally, but I'm not very photogenic, you see. And I had someone send me an invite to LinkedIn, and I've resisted LinkedIn because I always see that as a professional's. You're looking for work, or you're trying to improve your business, that sort of stuff. And let's be honest, that's not who I am, even in a work situation. And I'll give you a snapshot into the way I am at work. And like Sharon says, it's so unprofessional, but hey, it's different. I think that's the key. That's, it's why my business is doing so well. It's because I'm slightly different than other people. Because in my industry, everyone's very like, oh, well, we know what we're talking about. I don't give a crap about that. I had a client, we were on a brand new building. It just been handed over, so there were still builders and electricians around doing little bits and pieces. But on the whole, everyone was in their offices working and stuff. And we're just talking. I said, "Oh, I can't go into that room you need me to go into. They've turned off all the lights while they're doing something." And there was a whole group of people in this office, and he said to me, "Yeah, I know. I went to the toilet and all the lights went off, and I didn't know what to do." Right? It's an innocent comment. People look at me, and I said, "Well, poop. Isn't that what you meant to do?" And he just looked at me, and the whole office just roared with laughter. One woman, I saw her sort of dive behind some filing cabinets. She just read. She's going, and I can't believe he said that. And I said, well, hang on. What are you supposed to do? You're in the dark. Do you need a light to poo, do you? So, yeah, that's how I am. And that's why I was afraid to be on LinkedIn. Because you would just blurt out with things like that. Well, I think, too, your job is to be on site
So, I mean, you're busy. You have your hands full, literally, not even figuratively,
Yes.
literally. So, no, you're not going to, you're not going to be on LinkedIn all the time. The people who I know who are on LinkedIn all the time are recruiters. So if you know that, then, and you're like, oh, I would love to get a better job, so let me start posting on LinkedIn, because that's who you're connecting with, are, other people who are looking to network. To me, LinkedIn is very low key. I add in Scoop It comments. I make sure my newsletter is posted when I post my newsletter. So I just make sure that there's good content on there. And that's about it.
Well, I said to a colleague, 'cause he was the one that invited me, I said, you've unleashed a beast, because obviously people in the industry have been trying to invite me for ages. So when I finally signed up, I've just had, people invite. But I said to him, I haven't done the profile picture because I don't take a very good photo. I showed Sharon a couple of sort of profile pictures I'd taken for work, and she said, you're not going to post them up, are you?
Oh dear.
I said, what's wrong with them? She goes, if you posted that up, I wouldn't hire you. And I went, right. She goes, we'll have to take a proper one. And so I said to my mate, I don't know. This is the problem I have with LinkedIn. I want to take like duck face selfies. But it's not the place to do it.
It's not the place to do it. You need, that's LinkedIn is definitely a professional headshot kind of environment. If you are a new author, you are a newbie, you want to start exploring social media, one of the first things to do is to take and spend the money and have a professional headshots, and take about, give yourself 2 to 3 depending on your mood. So I have some that are straight, and then I have some where I'm laughing, and then I just use those depending on, what the talk is about, what is my message. And it makes a big difference if you feel good about the photo and good about what that conveys about you. Then it makes all of the difference. So yeah, I understand if it looks like you're up against the wall and it's your DMV shot. It's not going to look very good on social media. You need something with more personality.
Yes, but yeah, right. I hate photos. I've never been a photos person.
That's why we haven't done video.
Yes. Well, this is the thing. What do you talk about being overwhelmed. Writers then, I don't like having my photo taken. I think if I had a book out, I wouldn't have a picture of me on the back. That's for sure.
But they would want some. Well, no, I take that back. You probably could get away with not having a photo. You could do some. A lot of authors will do like an action shot, quote unquote. So the camera angle will go far back, and it'll be them walking or just turned, so that there's a little bit more activity in the photo itself for the visual. So it's not just their head right there. So I definitely can understand that. I just booked our friend Betsy, who's going to speak at a writing club that I belong to, and she sent me her photo, and she said she has one that she uses. That's it. She's sitting with a bunch of books, kind of a little bit back, and she says, "I hate photos of me. This is the only one I've got. This is the one you get."
Yeah, but you need to keep updating them. I've got one that I quite like, and that was on our wedding day 6 years ago.
You might want to. You might want to update that one.
Have a little less hair and a little bit more belly. Yes. So, actually, speaking of talking, this is probably quite a good topic. I don't like public speaking much, but I'll do it. I'll get into the, if I end up being lumped into a room with 30 people and they go, all right, technical man, talk. That's fine. But I was at this school. It was a school for adults. When people don't finish school 10 years down the track, they think, oh, crap, I actually needed to finish year 11 and 12, so I'll go on and do that. They came up to me, someone from the school, and said, I think you would be perfect to talk to some of our students about technology and how things are changing and the industry that you're in and how that they can have opportunities to get into it. And normally I go, yeah. But I don't know, for some reason I looked and went, yeah. And I was thinking about on the way home, how do you structure then? Because you do, lectures and talks all the time. How do you go about doing that? How do you set something up like that where you need to engage with an audience sitting in front of you and the open slather thing of just talk to them about what you do?
There's a structure you can definitely use on that, and that's true for any talk about your own business. I would first gauge what the audience members know. So, I would, form a couple of questions. How many people have a flat screen TV? How many people have tried to put their flat screen TV up on the wall? How many people are familiar with, and then name, a couple of maybe latest technologies. If you have and then from there you can say, okay, nobody. Great. Let's start, let me start back a little bit on, essentially what I do. And if you have a lot of people who get it, then you start, you skip the very, very beginning of what you might be talking about and just go into, well, here's the latest stuff. Here's the latest things that you may be interested in learning about. Also, with adult learners, especially, you don't have to spend a lot of time sketching out things, but you might want to just give some basic descriptions. Here's this, here's that, here's the other thing, and not and just sort of walk through it. If you have a lot of men in the room, they're not going to want to reveal that they don't know what you're talking about. So you have to help them by just delivering it. Women will ask more questions.
Yes, I noticed that when I was doing that talk at the hospital, there was 2 men and 20 women, and it was just like standing around geese. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Settle down one at a time. Like, so, yeah.
But we talk. I mean, and we want to know. And so that's gonna change your conversation as well.
But I did find, though, looking back on it, I did appreciate that, though, when I was bombarded with questions, because that way it doesn't feel like you're at a school doing a presentation, when you had to do those oral presentations and you rattle it through in 2 minutes. It delays it, and then you can sort of relax into it by about 10 minutes. But the only thing I did differently, rather than just answering the questions, I said to each one that had a question, come up here. I'm not going to explain it to you. I'm going to show you. And so it ended up, no one was sitting by the end of it. Everyone was sort of standing around me, and I felt a bit more comfortable with that. I don't like that concept of I'm standing, they're all sitting. Because let's face it, I get vertigo being so tall. I don't want to be looking down at all these people. So what do you?
I think that I think you're right. I think moving people makes an enormous difference. I think hands-on makes an enormous difference, particularly in your field. So that you say, here's, push this, push that, push the other thing, because you then are reaching out different learners. So you have experiential learners who need to touch it. You have visual learners who need to see you do it. And then you have the auditory learners who are happy to just sit and listen, and they can take all their information that they need in that way. But I have found, even with tactile learners, is that if I write something on a whiteboard, that for them is good enough to cement it in their heads. I mean, if you have a large group and you can't have everybody touch things, that's a good alternative.
Yeah, we see in this instance, it'll be the normal whiteboards that we use some technology to turn them into interactive ones. So that's where you get.
Oh, you go, yeah.
Ooh,
and that technology can be really quirky technology. We have those smart boards at the university where I teach, and you hit the screen, and the PowerPoint jumps ahead 13 slides. It's like, okay, and then you look for the back, and that doesn't work. It's still, to me, that technology is not quite there, not quite human enough.
Yes and no. We find some people who are a little bit hesitant with them can be, they tap and then they tap and then, oh my God. And then before you know it, I have been into many a situation where I've been in there to do something or other, walk past, and I've seen them freaking out, and then they just turn it off.
Yeah.
So like, oh, well, I just won't use it.
I do that. No, I'm totally guilty of that. If it's not working, you have limited time in front of a group of people, and so if it's and that I've always said, if your PowerPoint doesn't work, if something doesn't work, have Plan B and just execute Plan B as fast as you can. And so that's what you're seeing when someone just gives up. It's like, I only have 15 more minutes to give you everything you need to know, so we're turning this off and just going forward. So
here's a question then: if you are there, asked to guest speak somewhere. In a classroom or wherever, and this can apply to writers. I see them always being asked to guest speak, and I think it's a bit like a comment that my mate made once, where he said, "You only get promoted to your highest level of incompetence."
Right. That's the Peter principle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Writers aren't speakers. So
Nope.
why
No,
do,
well, not as a rule. No.
no, so why do writers keep being asked to guest speak at places? Do you, in a classroom situation, do you stand, or can you be one of those cool teachers that sits down?
It depends on what part of the class we're in. If I am lecturing, I stand, and the reason for that is that I have a lot more energy if I'm standing than if I'm sitting.
Yeah.
So that keeps, I move so the students can see, they have someone to watch. So the movement keeps them engaged. I move in and out. I move towards them. I move away from them. I move to the board. So that's part of that for the energy. If I am engaging them in a discussion where I want them to all talk, I will sit down on the same plane as they are, either at a desk or in a circle, so that it doesn't look like I'm lecturing. It's their turn to talk. So I change it up depending on what I need from the students and how comfortable I want them to be.
So have you had a my captain moment?
No.
Oh, right. I don't think that's ever happened
things
to
have gone
anyone.
pretty well. Yeah, nothing has burned. We're good.
Right. Yeah, I was just curious. I was thinking about it, going, oh, that sounds so formal. I don't like formal things. When someone says to me, we'd love for you to come and talk. And all I would have to do is send them an email and say, yeah, I'm happy to do that. And it probably happens straight away. But I was just thinking about it, going, I'd really need to structure it. Whereas I tend to be more of wingman is not the right term. I wing it.
Yeah.
Like this show here, I just make shit up as I go along.
What you might want to consider then is to create a PowerPoint that gives you an outline, which is all what PowerPoint should just be outlines. They shouldn't be everything, with some photographs, and that will help you keep on track to make sure everybody gets the information you want them to, and then simply talk from the PowerPoint.
Should include a picture of my coworker jackhammering a wall the other day. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, well, actually, yes. I mean, and if you took some weird angle shots of people on ladders and all of the wires, and you've got some great shots of horrible equipment that's filled with dust and wires and gross stuff. That's the kind of thing people love to see.
Yes, and that's why I am like I am. Anyway, I'll probably end up hitting you up, going, "All right, help me out. They really want me to do this."
Sure.
And then we can talk about it on the show. Now, so we can do a bit of a shorter show this week because obviously we got delayed with some technical problems.
So we've got all of our pieces ready to go.
We do. I don't have the show notes up. You sent it to me via email, didn't you?
Did I? Let me see. I might not have.
Because if I open it, it's going to go, ba-ding.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So it's all about me. I can just do it. Tell me which one you want first.
Just for a complete side note, I get messages from Sharon because I'm locked in a room at the moment and she's out in the rest of the house. Should I be worried that the floor is wet in some areas? I do not want to know what's going on out there. Yes, the boy's about to get in trouble. All right. Should we do a tortured sentence?
Yes.
All right, I'll play the tune.
Next time, don't put the wrong faces on the right syllable. Tortured sentences.
Alrighty. What's this one?
This is from Gourmet Magazine, and it's describing a hotel, and it says, "The Hermitage bedroom cottages, elegant and comfortable, are dotted along a sandy hillside path overlooking the bay and nicely secluded. There are 2 lovely swimming pools and a summer lunchtime bar, and a few tentative souls still change for dinner in the restaurant."
Right. That sounds shit.
That sounds like being in the dark and not knowing what else to do.
Yeah. Actually, I was just thinking about that then, going, that probably wouldn't help you much if you had those reviews that said, days since last murder. 12.
Days since last untimely death. 5.
Come to such and such a hotel where hookers under the bed are an option.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So tentative souls changing for dinner in the restaurant.
So why are you changing in the restaurant?
That's
Is
it.
like a nudist
That's
colony,
the
is it?
sentence. So awesome.
Come to dinner. There's a wiener in my sausage. Now, prompt. We didn't do a prompt last week. I noticed that.
Whoops. Our bad.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So we've got a prompt for this week.
Mhm.
So sometimes when I'm traveling, sometimes the best takeaway on a trip is discovering small things. Like I really like heated towel bars. Love them in
What?
Norway. Nothing like them.
Mhm.
What was your latest revelation on a trip? And hating the plane flight does not count. But what little thing that when you were out in the world and you said, "Oh, that's really cool." What was that item, and write about it?
Okay. So you had to add the little disclaimer of that was really cool. Whereas if it was, what have you taken that's a little thing from a trip? I'd say, well, I want to do this on my own next time.
That's a big takeaway.
Ah.
I was thinking of maybe something smaller than that.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm such a nerd. We did the last time we went away, we did the DreamWorks. They had a whole event happening here in Australia where DreamWorks came over and they set up this exhibition, that's the word, of all of their animated films and how they did them. And so it meant that this place, this open floor space, trade show type setup, had hundreds of projectors in different angles.
Oh, you must have just been in heaven.
Yeah. I was like, oh. And they set this thing up on a table where they had 4 projectors pointing down, and each of the items on this desk were projected. So it went through a cycle where they must have got the timing wrong because we were there quite early on but they must not have ironed out all of the bugs, but the projectors went blank for a minute and they just had white squares on the table. So they had like a circle and then a square on one side, and the projectors would then project onto the circle a plate. And then on the other side would project an iPhone. It was very cool. So
that's very cool. That's the virtual reality kind of thing.
Yeah. And so I found myself going, oh, but still I couldn't help myself because Sharon's going, this is awesome. You must be in seventh heaven. I'm like, yeah, but they installed that one a bit weird. So why? I can't help it. Like, so while everyone else is looking around going, look at Shrek.
That's all right. I read books and I'm like, oh, we could have redone that sentence. So I understand.
I just couldn't help. I just found myself like everyone's looking at, oh, look at Shrek or look at this. And I'm just I'm walking around getting, whiplash going, oh, craning my neck up into the roof.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, I think that's fun.
Yes. No one else cared. Oh, anyway. Because I should have got my show notes up. I don't know what we're doing next now. Yes, have you voted for the podcast awards? Have you nominated us yet? That's what I want to know.
I have. I sent out a bunch of tweets to that effect. So I've been sprugging it.
Voting or nominations close on the 2nd, which is in, well, for me, 2 days' time. So if you feel so inclined, please send us a nomination to podcastawards.com and put us under education if you can, because I don't think we fit into any other category. So
no, we don't. I think this is it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
So I think that'll do it for this show.
I think so. I think we just ended up with a short show, and that's okay. Sometimes that happens.
Better than no show. I know we sort of just didn't really talk about too much specifically, but so be
But we'll
it.
get back. The more I do this class, the more I'll have something to say about what I'm learning. Oh my goodness, it's just amazing.
Right. Well, anyway, I should do some writing at some point.
Yeah, I'll talk about writing too.
That'd be a nice thing. I guess we should take a bit of time, if we've just got a couple of minutes, to sort of give shout outs to, people that don't really get to, well, we don't sort of shout them out at all, really. Scott Fletcher, who does our voiceover stuff. He's awesome. Look him up. If you're interested in doing podcasting, he's the person to go to. He's got special podcast rates, like super cheap for people that like doing this, because he's a big supporter of that. And
Well, that's so cool of him.
yeah, and Kevin McLeod, who does a lot of the free audio, like music stuff, the music that I use, incompetech.com. All free. It's all for podcasts. You can just check it out. And yeah, every time I need a little bit of a sound bite or we need to do a new intro, I go straight there. You can type it in. He's got hundreds, if not thousands, of different audio things. So I have to give a shout out to them. I think that's important because, you shouldn't just take this stuff. Anyway. All right, stop typing.
Sorry. I'm sending you the show notes.
Oh, right. Anyway, which, yes, I've been a bit slack. Oh, I forgot to put the show notes up for last week, even though I said I would. Naughty. Well, that's...
Oh, it's just, it's your summertime. So it's the summertime blues. They've even called the show that. The summertime blues.
Summertime work. Anyway, who have we got on next week?
Next week, it's just us again.
Sweet. Well, we might have a...
No, I take that back.
Oh.
No, I take that back. We have a guest next week. Lori King, who wrote a travel memoir book called Lost, Kidnapped, and Eaten Alive.
Right. You two are going to
And
get
if
on
she was
fantastic.
eaten alive, I'm guessing she visited Australia. So we'll have to have a conversation about that.
Great. I did post up a thing about that. I've got a few people going, that's gross, about Australian insects. So,
And then the following week, we will have Naomi Rose back on
Cool.
the 14th. And that's what we've got so far.
awesome. Well, until next week, we'll see you then. And hopefully I don't get eaten alive in between.
Try your best.
I'll try.
Your book starts here on the Newbie Writers Podcast.